Hello and welcome once again to the Guy Knows Guy show. No, this isn't the Guy Knows Guy show. Welcome to the Power Lunch live show. I was just talking to my guest before we started about how we really need to get that promo intro going like I have on the Joint Venture Insider show, because otherwise it's just me singing. But this show, if you're not familiar with it, is we bring together as many as 4 amazing guests. And how do we choose those guests? With my producers, serendipity and random happenstance. Choose the right 4 people to come together. Sometimes it's less. If the universe decides we're going to have 3, we have 3, which is how many we have today. So let's meet our guests. And so we have 3 awesome people who are going to have a free-flowing and fun, frolicking conversation throughout various topics, as we do every Friday, except for the next 2 Fridays. So enjoy this show extra, because I'm going to be traveling for the next 2 weeks. So no power lunch until the end of the month. So Tom, Lydia, Vinnie, you got a lot of weight on your shoulders. You got to carry the franchise for 3 weeks. So let's get to some introductions. First I should introduce myself. I should probably keep like a run sheet or something. Anyway, I'm Michael Whitehouse. I'm the guy who knows a guy. I also do a podcast on neurodiversity like ADHD. Surprise, surprise. I am a connector. People hire me to make introductions for them. I also have a program for small business owners, people who are new to business, who maybe don't even know what questions to ask, let alone where to find them, called The Inner Circle. It's a low-cost $97 a month program where you get access to me, kind of an Ask Me Anything, 1 hour a week. So it's the program I wish existed when I was starting my business. So I created it for the people who are starting it now. So if that's of interest to you, guyknowsaguy.com/inner circle. That's enough about me. Let's meet these 3 people who are probably more interesting than I am. First off, we have Tom Schwab. Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Michael, thanks for having me here. We actually met through a mutual friend, Kate DeLeo. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Yes, it really exists, halfway between Chicago and Detroit. I run a company called Interview Valet. We help thought leaders get on podcasts to grow their brand and grow their business. And if I can do it from Southwest Michigan, you can do it from anywhere.
Nice. All right, next up we have Vinnie Patestivo.
Yes.
Hey. Want to get all the letters in the right order.
How you doing?
Potestivo, tell us about yourself.
What's going on? I'm Vinnie Patestivo here in Brooklyn. I am a lifelong creator. In the late 90s, I helped MTV launch the talent development department, which spawned a whole genre of storytelling, namely the Osbournes, Newlyweds, Punk'd, Laguna Beach, The Challenge, a couple of Housewives. And what I do now is help people find frame to make impact. I help them get discovered by being more discoverable. And I'm excited to share some of my experiences here and a lot of other people's stories.
Excellent. I'm definitely excited to hear that. And we should possibly follow up, as I have 5 podcasts and still nobody follows me. I mean, except for this show. Don't worry. This audience is huge. You're going to reach millions of people. You're totally investing your time well. Anyway. Lydia.
Yeah, my name is Lydia. I'm originally from Germany, but I love to travel and basically have a base in Cyprus, in the Netherlands, and in Switzerland. And my topic's mindset coaching. I work with people who are hustlers, who work a lot, and they want out. So they want to keep their success, and they want to have more fulfillment, more happiness in their love life, like all the side things that we call life. They want to increase their success in these areas, while obviously maintaining or even increasing their success in business. That's in short what I do.
This is going to be a great show. I mean, they're always great shows, but this is the one we're on. So this is going to be a great show. So we're going to kick it off first with Tom talking to us about how you are one conversation away.
Yeah, and it's interesting here. In marketing, so often we hear this idea of you're one funnel away, right? And I'm an engineer by degree, right? So I believe in automation. I believe in systems, but they've got their place. And I'd ask everybody to reflect on this. It's like the best things in your life, did they come through funnels, right? I can think of my best one was the introduction to my bride. Right. I guarantee you it was not a Facebook ad campaign putting everybody through a funnel. It was a conversation with someone that made the introduction. And, I really believe that the greatest gift you can ever give someone is introducing them to a new idea or a new person. And while automation, this idea of, funnels and email sequences, there's a place for that. I think it all starts with one conversation. And think about the most important things in your life, right? That next customer, the ideal customer, probably going to get referred from another one. They're going to have to talk with you before they engage with you. That next great employee, right? It's probably because they heard about your company. They heard about you. That next great partner that you could work with. It's probably not that you reached out to them with a canned LinkedIn message, right? Am I the only one that gets like 5 of those an hour, right? No, it's probably a conversation. So with that, I think going back to the fundamentals there of, the more and more we get technology here, which is a great tactic, we have to think about the strategy behind it. And what are we doing to have those conversations? What are we having them at scale? How do we make those conversations meaningful, right? Context is king, but context is God. And how do we make them memorable? And, I'm looking forward to the conversation here about, about how we can do that also. So all of those things that I think we need to focus on conversations first and technology afterwards. And so, be it relationships, business, anything like that, that's my big take on it. And it's something that I'm passionate about. Is what we do at our company, right? We make introductions, we make relationships, we foster conversations. And if you're listening to this, I guess you must like conversations, or at least like Michael and Power Lunch Live, because it's always some interesting conversations here.
Yeah. And that is great that you're on here, because my original podcast, the Guy Knows a Guy podcast, the main purpose of it was to have conversations with interesting people. And then there were too many people who wanted to be on that show and too diverse. But I didn't want to be like, oh, you don't fit the theme of the show, so tough luck. I was like, I like not saying no to people. So I said, what if I created a show where the standard was I want interesting people, but I don't have time to meet with them all individually? What if I put 4 of them on the show together and saw what happened? So it seems to be kind of like that I have never had success with funnels. I've never been able to get the systems in place. So I build systems to build conversations. So like this show, I do an open virtual coffee. I do other things like that are systems that funnel people into conversations. So I don't have to keep track of 25 people a week. Systems flow them in front of me, and then, make connections. I'm really bad at getting their money, but I'm really good at making conversations. So,
Michael, there's a great book out there Bill Troy wrote called Clicksand, How Digital Marketing is Ruining Your Business. And I love one of the things he said in there. It was that big fish don't swim through funnels and whales don't click, right? You're having meaningful conversations. Maybe funnels would work if you were selling 99-cent widgets, but you need conversations.
Yep. Vinnie, Lydia, thoughts? Speaking of conversations, jump on in.
Lydia?
You go, Vinnie.
No.
Because I thought we would go round first, so I have to gather my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm like struck because I thought I was so unique in this world until this very call. I too identify as a data engineer. I built my entire creative practice on Excel and Access. I can't wait to even share what that means. But I love where it starts with data and systems. And Michael, I can so relate to wanting to and needing to be social, but needing a unique and organized way to do it. My podcast is called I Have a Podcast. I sit down with the celebrities and stars whose careers I've made and have made mine. And you would recognize them, Mandy Moore and Jamie Lynn Sigler. And we go through like the good old days 25 years ago. But I didn't have new guests on my podcast. I was missing out on the collaboration, the meeting, the networking of people. So I launched ihaveapodcast.com as a Google News certified publishing platform to create featured podcast or articles on everyone that I meet so I can do what I did at MTV, discover and highlight and amplify. And I've created a really nice system to do it, and a team that really helps me. And it's been fun identifying and growing this 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 career, this field as big and as fast as it's growing, but I needed help. And I turned to y'all. I turned to us the same way I did 25 years ago when I launched my real people casting company that no one heard of until good old MTV figured out what I was talking about. And the rest was history for me.
Love it.
Yeah, what I like, what Tom said is like the idea of conversations. It's also the idea of putting humans first. And with this whole technology that actually has helped us a lot, I think we have gotten too far away from us being humans. And like what we want, like what gives us life is connection. Every one of us, without connection, like even babies, there is this horrible study that was done. If they don't get connection, they die, even if you feed them. And it's with all of us. If we don't get connection, attention, all of that, we are doomed. So I love this idea of conversation first, and then, you know, have technology help us to advance further. But it's always the passenger seat. It's not about that this takes over and this is the focus. No, even if you have a funnel, the focus is not the funnel. The focus is still let us connect with each other. So yeah, it's more the soft stuff I'm bringing in here, but I think it's crucial also actually for us as humanity if we want to survive.
Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying about the email. I basically use my email list, again, don't know how to build funnels. I use my email list as my private social media platform. So my email list is I'm sharing stories, and it's not, I don't sit there and be like, let me plan my emails for the next 60 days. I'll wake up Monday morning and be like, I feel like writing about what happened yesterday when I took my daughter to the beach, and I write that. I have some thoughts. I'm going to share them. And I did a webinar yesterday and had a few people show up who I didn't recognize, which is, kind of cool, having people that I didn't meet at networking events. And I, went around and said, hey, how did you find me? What brought you here? And one of them said, I'm on your email list. And I stayed on it far longer than I expected. And I read far more than I expected because, you join an email list and it's all like, buy my stuff. It is very well crafted. 25 years ago, I was walking on the beach and I found a seashell, and the seashell reminded me of buy my stuff. Whereas mine, I will often have a call to action because I know I'm supposed to, but sometimes it is literally, I guess I should mention some program I have at this point. I will literally say that. Be like, I have an inner circle. You might like it. Here's what it is. Anyway, moving on. There's some other stuff here, but it's, I use it because I can't keep track of 1,300 people individually. So I share stories with them and engage, and anyone can hit Control-R and be like, oh, this is a great story. I had a question for you. And sometimes they do. Often they don't, which is good, because if 1,300 people replied, I would have a problem. But it creates that engagement, and that human connection. Where I'm struggling is to find that balance point, because I've got great connection and engagement, and people like to read it, and they really like me. And then it's a question of like, I need to create products they want to actually pull their credit cards out for. But I'd much rather be on that side of things than I get conversion, but everyone thinks I'm a robot who's untouchable, and I'm a character, not a person.
There's a great quote out there. I've heard it attributed to Bill Gates. It was either Bill Gates or Abraham Lincoln that said it, that email is a great way to share information, but not always the best way to communicate. Right. So often you got to do something richer, like, a conversation like this that people can listen into, or just, going old school and talking.
Someone on Facebook likes my content. Thank you, random citizen. Fantastic. I feel like this might dovetail into Vinny's topic of how to get discovered, be more discoverable.
Oh yeah, I love what he does out of the gate. The level of exposure. I mean, to be honest, in this like noisy content market, what other way other than exposure are you really meeting people? And we're sort of doing it now. You figured out a way to create a stage where all four of us can be exposed to possibly a new audience and new opportunities, new outcomes. But what I realized is that exposure without an action is entertainment, and that's okay. I come from entertainment, so I'm not here to poo-poo on just good old fashioned sit in your seat and learn and stay there. I did that the first 25 years of my career. But what I want to talk about is discovery and the action that needs to happen after being exposed that equals discovery, and I think that's sharing. To be honest, I think there's no greater value right now than somebody who's being exposed to you for the first time. There's no greater next step than sharing. And we do things that trip up our discoverers so that we cannot be as discoverable. We are not discovered as easily when we don't create those little breadcrumbs and those little things to share. You know, artists have been doing it for years: merch, t-shirts, albums, you know, concerts. I can go on and on and on about the things they create so that we can share tickets, share experiences, share stories. Like my mom thinks she created like Michael Bublé. I'm not even invented or discovered, but like created Michael Bublé because she watched a Christmas special that launched his career. And then what she did is she went to the store and bought 10 albums. And those were all her Christmas presents. And she'll never forget the pride that she had in going to buy those albums and getting to share those with her kids in the youth group and the rest of our family friends. There's pride in that. And what he did, what Michael Bublé did right, was create an experience that audiences, combined audiences, can experience together. To me, that combined audiences are community. And then the action of allowing someone to share an album, the action of allowing someone to easily go and purchase this. And back then it was like, go buy my album at probably Coconuts or Walmart, you know, Virgin Atlantic. So I come from like a long time ago. And that was a really important step in the process. And there are things that we can do as business owners, as podcasters, as modern creators that will help us be more shareable. And I'd love to talk about that later on in this episode.
Sure. Yeah. And actually, I'd be curious to know like some specific low-hanging fruit, because I often hear like, oh, yes, we just build a funnel and, you know, hire $100,000. Yeah,
fun stuff.
This, you know, print 10,000 t-shirts. But what are some
like fun stuff right now? Let's all of us get a little action in this video. Like, let's just get a little fun action. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a GIF, and we're going to put this on Giphy, and we're going to put this on Tenor, and that feeds Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, and allows us now to be visual assets where someone can create. By the way, maybe we'll come up with on Tenor, you can get in about 60 keywords. On Giphy, you're allowed 10 strong keywords that will really help people find you. I'll come back and we'll make some content about this. But just letting people get to choose you, right? I'm a sticker on Instagram, for example. Those are some fun, creative ways to stand out. Winning awards. There's lots of awards. I want to walk you through. By the way, there's no one who taps on Beyonce's shoulder and is like, excuse me, Beyonce, you came out with a great album. Here are your 8 nominations. No, she's got to pay for every single producer attached to every single award nomination that she's up for consideration of. And I like showing people that process and letting them understand that, and connecting people to marketing platforms that actually pay. Right. Some of the trick to being discovered is getting your name on the list. And I'm very mindful of where I ask people to put their name on the list. But when like LinkedIn is doing its creator accelerator, Pinterest right now just opened up its next round of creator support, and they're about to launch Pinterest TV. Like, they've got Airtables begging creators to enter their name. This is our time to get in and get discovered on a list that matters. That's going to be read and going to be used.
Interesting.
That is so powerful. The comment you made that exposure without action is entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, because if there's no point to it, you're just getting up there and you don't give people the next step. I don't know if it's even entertainment at that point. It's probably, you know, frustrating if they're like, oh, I love Vinnie, and they have no idea that all they know it's the Vinnie in Brooklyn, right? If you don't give them a way to take that next step, it can almost be frustrating there too. And it's like, I love how you tied in the exposure, then an action to actually bring something out of that. That's powerful.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we have such, and you know what I realized is what's changed in 25 years that I've been in media is we, the people, have so much control over when and how we get discovered. That was not the case 20 years ago. You needed this. Excuse me, sir. You've got a great look at the Incubus concert. Would you like to audition for MTV? You know, that used to be the day where people tapping on shoulders, maybe crawling social media even, right? But now we can purely, the level of that this like industry is growing. I don't even know which industry is this industry, because because podcasting like fractures all of the industries and is its own industry in and of itself. Which is pretty neat, like I've never been a part of something where a lawyer, where a lawyer, a doctor, and a priest walk into a bar and they actually go record a podcast, and that's not a joke.
Oh, I love that.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and so I've been running into lately. So I have gotten traction on TikTok, and I sort of know how. 45 days ago I had 1,000 followers. I now have coming up on 6,000. And so one of the thoughts was, TikTok is a little bit arcane in, how do you follow up? How do you connect? I mean, once you get over 1,000, you can have a live link in the bio, but what's the live link? And how do you get people to go to it? And but I'm finding people, they're contacting me, like they're finding me. I'm getting LinkedIn messages. Someone messaged my Facebook page, which I didn't even see. My wife, who's also an admin, is like, you have a message on your page? Because Facebook. But so I'm putting out content, and people are like, how do I find you? So it's a matter of kind of figuring out how do I make myself more findable, while also not being spammable. Because of course, as soon as you're findable, then you start just getting junk. But it's once I'm starting to find that platform, because each platform is different in discoverability. Facebook is more through you meet people and friend them, and that's how they're there, as opposed to TikTok is the algorithm will do what the algorithm will do, and if you please the algorithm, then you shall be in favor of the algorithm gods. So, but I've really been thinking a lot about what is that next step and what can I deliver, and then of course was I on brand to my main business when I blew up on TikTok? Of course not. I was sort of adjacent off to the side. So like, how does this attach to that? It's still around networking and making your best life, but not around like what my main business is. So it's been interesting mental exercise to say, how do I tie this in? How do I bring this together and let people get more value out of it and get more access in a way that they can give back to me, I can give back to them, we can be in a conversation.
Yeah, I love that. The whole idea of, what you all mentioned now, but bringing it on, obviously, Vinnie, exposure and what's the action afterwards, because I have worked with entrepreneurs or people who have a large following on social media and actually no sales. So what does it serve you if you have 100K followers on Instagram or wherever and you don't make a single dollar? Like if it's just for fun, of course, but if it's meant to lead to sales, then there is an issue. And I see there is a name for that, but this like looking for likes all the time, vanity metrics or something, and people, then it's a little bit about mindset, what I will talk about, but this idea of, oh my God, I need the likes. But, there are people who have one like and they make 6 figures from one post. So I think that would be super interesting to discuss more, like, how much likes and exposure do we need? And the important part, how can we actually, if it's about our business, how can we bring sales in through that?
I think some of that is sort of platform agnostic, right? It's funny when you said vanity metrics, and there was almost like this part of shame, like we the people as humanity, shame on us for wanting to likes. By the way, what if we were not the ones who came up with vanity metrics? What if marketers were like, hey, don't worry about sales, worry about likes? Someone made a decision to put that hard, big, and proud and animated the way that someone had that idea. And I think we'll uncover Facebook's methodology and some of the way they programmed us to respond to applause and getting sort of currency from that creativity. I think that helps me pick the platform, to be really honest. On LinkedIn, for example, it really truly is about the noise of the conversation underneath the post. I post almost once every other month on LinkedIn now. It's usually something evergreen connected to a newsletter, and I'm able to have a tremendous impact over a long period of time and sort of create a step value experience. If you find my hashtag linked Vin on LinkedIn, if you want to find my breadcrumbs, I say. To me, that because the conversation matters so much more on Instagram because of how it works, and post 5 stories and bippity boppity boop. I actually decided to allow anyone that I follow to be my close friends. So I made 2,000 people my close friends, the little green circle, so that when I post a story, if they followed me, then maybe I'll get the green circle on top left. Maybe I'll get premium placement, up front. So I'm mindful sort of how to make impact. But that's why I'm excited about Pinterest TV. I feel like if I'm little chubby Vinnie at the Jersey Shore trying with my boogie board trying to catch a wave, and all the athletic kids are catching their waves, I'm just waiting for my perfect wave, man. Because I know how I want that photo to look. The last thing I want is not for this to end the way that I want it to. And there are those opportunities. Pinterest came out with shuffles. So if you've been pinning on Pinterest all this time, Pinterest has this new social app that allows you to sort of collagify your pins so that you can congregate them together and sort of use them as source content. Pinterest TV is going to allow for long form, evergreen vertical footage, vertical video content that's shoppable. That's like tappable. I think of I get it. And by the way, the second they said shoppable, my response was, can we also give away things for free? Because I'm really good, like you said, Michael, at giving away value and giving it away for free. I had to find a way to support all that free tool and resources I put out there. But yeah, my 2 cents on that.
Yes, you were talking about that, Lydia. It reminded me, was it Kevin Kelly wrote that article about 1,000 true fans? And his point was, bands can go out there and support themselves if they just have 1,000 true fans. But like Vinnie, you said, and Michael, about having something for the fans to buy, right? If Michael Bublé didn't have an album in the stores, your mom wouldn't have bought 10, right? And how many fans do you need if you don't have something for them to engage with, right? And I guess, Lydia, that's where you talk about people having, tens of thousands of people, but they're not making any money out of it. Right. So I think maybe it's a combination of true fans and then how you can serve them. And those have to be in balance to maximize it.
Well, yeah, you just hit the nail on the head, right? Like the first step is to allow them to like the merch, the idea, like that's literally the first step on the ladder towards that super fan. Like they've had one great experience and now they got social reward and a positive experience because other people received that information. Another rung and another rung. So it's not just by providing that album, right? It didn't give them the opportunity by releasing it around Christmas. Hey, we all need to buy gifts, right? It's like, what a perfect time to think when you think about the marketing structure, the release of this. It was just it felt like such a gift of generosity. Very smart, by the way.
I decided to put out a t-shirt inspired by this conversation. I'm going to a live event in 2 weeks, and I'm not, my wardrobe is not necessarily ready for 7 days of live events. So it's like I need to go out and get more shirts. But my look here is black t-shirt, which looks great on a screen and not so great in person. I thought, but if I put on shirt and tie and everything, like this is an entrepreneur event. That's not that. And I thought, what if I made a shirt that says, "Who would you like to meet?" And I told my wife, she's like, "Yeah," and we can use your Bitmoji character. Because I have a super cute Bitmoji. And then I was like, wait. And as you're talking, I could take that and put that on Cafe Press or whatever's doing dropship t-shirts now. And I could actually sell my own merch. So you have inspired an idea that may well hit the airwaves.
Well, you just created by the way, you're set for success because if that's the path of creation, I think, Tom, you said it too, right in the beginning, it's like, you could throw money at this stuff and you can fuel the fire with gas. That's expensive. There's a way to do that. But at the end of the day, if the interview isn't right, the chemistry isn't right, if you're not creating it correctly, if it's not fun to make, it is not going to be fun to watch or share. Right. I find that.
Yeah, absolutely. So sounds like, so once you've gotten conversations, you've gotten discovered, then you end up possibly hustling and spinning your wheels. And that brings us to Lydia, who's going to be talking about mindset, letting go of the hustle, and fulfillment.
Yeah. Oh, I love that circle you just did. That was super cool. And I actually wanted to say something to the topic we had before. So if we have the scenario that we have the funnel right, we have the conversations going, we have lots of, like, everyone finds us, and we still don't convert, or we still don't make sales, or these people I mentioned who have large followings but don't sell, like, one thought for everyone is there is always a win in the situation. And you have to discover that's the mindset stuff you then do, like, why have you created that story for yourself in that way? You have to find what is the win, the current gain, and you have to make the gain, for example, of more sales higher than what you're gaining through, it could be anything. I don't want to go out there. For some people, it's visibility, or if they have a lot of visibility, it's the fear of rejection. If they actually put something out and then all the people say no, or no one talks to you anymore, this can be, for example, a big fear for people who are already very visible. So it's super interesting to go deeper, more the psychology stuff of, like, hey, why have you created this scenario for you in that way? And funny enough, it wouldn't help if you got more exposure, if you got better conversations, all of that, if your mindset is not right, because you will recreate the same stuff over and over again. So once you take care of that stuff, you can put all the funnels and all the great conversations there, and it will go boom. Or you don't even do that and it will still go kind of boom, just perhaps a little bit less or whatever. So this idea of what's the gain in my current scenario, in my current situation, get clear on that. Helps to have a coach for that, because it's usually your blind spots, and then work through that stuff and actually transcend or transform what is underlying. What about fear of getting too big? Yeah, it could be something. For some people, like, oh my God, what if all these people now want to book from me? What if all these people, like, I can't, like, it's great, I have great content, people love me, but actually when they pay for it, do they still like what they get? I have a client who has exactly that, who has also a gigantic network. She helps all the people in her network to get super successful, and she does it all basically for free, and she's struggling. And it's this issue, like, but what if people pay for it? Then they won't like anymore and then you go deeper. Where does this fear come from? So it's actually something else than what I wanted to say, but I think it really, really is interesting in our conversation that we just had to bring this on. And people always think, like, mindset or whatever, I do this when I'm old or something. Like, no, that is the root. That's the root. So work on that stuff, and you can have much more success. You can have much easier success, so that you actually have still time to see your family, your friends, like, travel the world, all of that stuff. But it always starts in you and not in the external circumstances. Does this make sense for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah. And mindset, underpins anything. If your mindset's wrong, it doesn't matter what else you're doing or where else you're at. And I'm actually the point. I never used to be much into what is sometimes dismissively called the woo-woo side of things. But after last year, when I interviewed about 50 successful business owners, 6, 7, couple 8-figure business owners, and many of them talked about mindset, spirit, energy, all these different woo type concepts. And, like, these people are collectively too wealthy to be ignored. And
I love that.
Yeah, not one of them was like, I don't believe in that. I just go make money. And many of them, it was a mindset shift. I had them on the show to dissect. Because at the time I had basically no business. I was an Uber driver. I was connecting people. I had a podcast. And I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And often they'd tell me about a mindset shift and a time when, before they were broke, and then mindset shift, and then things happened. I'm like, back up. The moment when it happened, what happened? And I kept trying to dig in, and it was almost like the question just slid off. They'd be like, well, I kind of adjusted my mindset and focus and became more mindful, and then things happened. And I had a similar shift around the end of 2021. And similarly, being the one who was asking the questions, trying to find out how, like, I couldn't tell you. I could tell some of the things that happened, but I couldn't necessarily tell you exactly what happened. And it's partly because you can't remember a previous mindset. Because it's like a different operating system. You can remember how you felt, you can remember what you did, but you can't remember who you were, because that's not who it's like opening the data file but on a different computer. It's not the same computer anymore. I can't tell you what the computer was like. And it's a really interesting thing. Like, but once I made that shift, it was, huge. I went from $250 a month to $9,000 a month in 6 months because, made that shift, and thus it just started attracting, and that found the right offerings, and the offerings shifted the mindset, and the mindset shifted the offerings, and on I went.
Mhm. So I have an interesting question for you. Like, you seem to see it in a similar way than I do. What would you think is perhaps an approach for people who are not there yet? It's the same with hustling, people hustle, and until they have their burnout, until they have their accidents, until they have their breakups, until their wife or their partner takes the kids with them and wants, like, soul whatever, taking care of them, and divorce and all of that. Until then, they keep doing that shit. And then when it's like last minute thing, then they start changing. So the question would be, how can we talk to people that they get the importance of that early on? Like for you, it was this recognition, okay, they're super wealthy, they must do something right, and they speak about that stuff. I don't know, do you guys have similar experiences that you understood the importance of that?
Well, I think what Michael just said was so powerful to me because, right, hustle porn is an epidemic right now, right? Just hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's funny, Michael, you said all the successful people aren't the ones that are, by and large, selling that, right? If anything, it's like, how does Elon Musk do it all, right? How does Richard Branson do it all?
Mm-hmm.
He runs all these companies, and what do they say? He checks his email once a day, and it's like his assistant reads it to him, the important stuff. And it's like, well, I could do that too, but I've got, so many emails, and I could do all the things that Vinnie was talking about, but you don't understand. I am so busy, but we've all got the same time. So I think some of it is, I don't know if you're going to call it marketers or society telling us we got to be busy and we got to hustle, right? And Michael, what you said is, are we modeling our behavior off of busy people or off of successful people?
Mm-hmm.
And I would also, what you were talking about, Lydia, off of happy people or unhappy people, right? Because I can't think of, as I think about it now, a whole lot of happy and content people that I would be like, that I would say are, always hustling.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, what do you model? And Michael, kudos to you for realizing that it wasn't just, hustling more.
Yeah. Well, one of the key things for me, well, to your point, first off, on how I learned it is I read some books and watch some things, but ADHD distracted, but conversations I can stay attentive to. So I built a podcast so I could talk to successful people and ask them how they did it, which is way more effective than reading their books or watching their content. But one of those powerful things was when I got certified as a coach, I learned the 7 levels deep exercise, which is a super simple exercise. You take what's your goal and you say, why is that important? And you take the answer and you say, why is that important? And you take the answer and you say, why is that important? And you do it 7 times. And so to demonstrate the exercise, I'm like, yeah, I'll volunteer. And my starting top thing was, I need more prospects. Now, mind you, I had only half an idea of what my business was, but I need more prospects. I need to talk to more potential clients. And so we went down through the exercise and down. I need more prospects and get more sales be more money, we have more time. And all the way at the bottom, so I could spend more time with my daughter. And then I realized, so what am I doing? I'm spending my time, I'm working late to find these prospects so I can talk to them and pitch them and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what's stopping me from spending time with my daughter? Spending time searching for prospects. Why do I want prospects? So I can spend time with my daughter. Well, that's really stupid. Why don't I just shortcut that, stop working at 5, spend time with the kid? And that taught me the idea of, like, why are you really doing something? And people who haven't gone through that, as Lydia, as you say, they're the ones who ruin their relationships, they ruin their health, they ruin their. And so I look at what is my big goal. My big goal is to be able to have time with my family, to be happy, comfortable, healthy. So I hired a personal trainer because having health and energy supports all other goals. I try to set aside time for my family, which I think I'm somewhat effective at. Partly it's I'm getting my wife out of her job so she can work with me. So that's the way to spend time with family. But it's focusing on the big goal and knowing what the big goal is. And the big goal is not money. It's not like, oh, if I had $1 million in the bank, then I'd have $1 million in a bank account. And what would that do? It's like, what is the goal? And then the money serves that goal. The exercise serves that goal. The mindset serves that goal. I think a lot of people, they get the means and the ways, or the means and the ends backwards. They focus on the means and forget what the ends actually are. And they win everything. They win every battle and lose the war.
Yeah, I love that. I work with feeling states. So target feeling states is the idea of, or probably feeling goals. You probably know that. Like everything we want, all the things, the prospects, the clients, the money, like all of it. Why do we actually want it? Because it's not about that. It's always about what are we going to feel when we have that.
Yeah.
And then we can already work toward, like, it's such an easy hack for people. You just do more of that. Like you said, spend time. It's probably connection, love, all of that with your daughter. Do that now. And then business will follow, like, because you're doing what you like, your biggest wish is already fulfilled. So you will be in a very different energy to do all the other things.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and when I realize I can achieve all my goals with $150,000 a year, I don't need $1 million company. I don't need a $5 million company. Now, if I get one without having to give up my life to do it, okay, I'll take it. But, I think so many people are fixated on, like, if I have 2 commas, 2 magical commas, and then everything will be better.
Never.
Yep. But, making $1 million a year is no good if you're giving $500,000 to your ex-wife because you ruined your relationship.
Good point. I love that.
Or the old thing of, if you're the millionaire by 30 and if you make your first million by 30 and your first widow by 40, doesn't mean that you won, right?
Yes.
And Michael,
like
what you said is your mindset changes and then your results change, right? And it's interesting. Most people, I think, would look at it as like, well, if I had this, then I could have that mindset, right? When the truth is that if you're not happy with where you are right now, you won't be happy with $1 million. You won't be happy with $1 billion, right? It just magnifies that.
There's another powerful example of abundance. Like I have clients in all different levels. I have people who struggle to make money and they think I need more money to whatever, feel abundant, not lack anymore. They want to get rid of the lack. Then funny enough, I have people who make 20, 30K a month. They have the same issue, but they make 20K a month. It's like for the person who makes no money, it's like, wow, if I had 20K, I would finally feel abundant. Like, no. And then there are people who have $1 million cash sitting there ready to take out and do stuff. They are freaking in lack mindset. It's like, oh my God, it's going to run out next month or like in 2 months or whatever, something happens. They are fully in this stress of losing money. And the funny thing is, it has nothing to do with the money they have. Some of them have $1 million and more sitting there ready to do whatever with. And others have not. Like, that's usually where people get it. It's like, it's not the money. The money doesn't make me abundant. It's nice to have money. I'm not saying like you should give up money, but you have to understand the root of feeling abundant and feeling free and all of that does not come from money. If you're not wired for that, you can have $1 million sitting there and you will have the same experience. And even some of my clients have to go through that cycle. They actually go from 10K to 50K a month. And then they figure out, shit, I'm still worried. And then it's like, okay, now I get it. So it's again, you cannot you cannot postpone happiness and freedom and all of that. It does not work. It's the mindset first.
There's certainly some amount of actually having money, when you're completely broke. Because I have shifted my actual bank account and mindset. And there was definitely the mindset shifted, which shifted the situation, which shifted the mindset. I remember when you're going out to eat and spending $30, and I'd be like, whew, $30. Okay, that's a little more than I meant to spend, but I guess it's okay. And then, a month or two ago, there was a course that a friend of mine was offering at a discount for $500. And I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily need that, but I might need it. So, I want to build that relationship. So yeah, I'll take that course, $500, because it seems like I'll probably learn something useful in it. Just got to toss $500 at it. And just to think back, like a year ago, that would have given me heart palpitations. I would have agonized for 3 weeks about like, $500. Oh boy, that's a lot. I don't know if I should do that. But then getting into a different space and just realizing I can invest and I have that. But that's also a mix of having it. Like that 500 is not going to come out of the money that would pay the mortgage. So you need to have the mental abundance and the physical abundance, and they both go together. Because too much mental abundance without physical abundance is just delusion. So they need to advance together. You can't have one without the other.
But it's always the question, like, what comes first? And people think, once I have the million, this will give me finally the relaxation. They will never get there. And people who go and get this relaxation, like they have nothing, manage to get through different techniques into a place of relaxation. They are in a different state. They will see opportunities. They will seize opportunities. And when you're in stress and in lack mindset, you will not be able to see that. So much more stressful. So again, when you get yourself to a different place mentally, you will have the same circumstances, but you will have a totally different outlook on your life and to what is happening, how you talk to people, how you show up to people, how you make like a needy person wanting to sell something to you. You will run 100 kilometers away to get away from them. You don't want that, even if you actually do want that. And a person who is like, oh, super cool, you don't really need it, but you just, like you like that person, you will buy that stuff. So, like that's what I want to say. Of course, you cannot eat, like, of course it goes together, like mental abundance, and then needs to come the other thing. But still,
Vinnie, she mentioned that, and that's what I was thinking. Discoverability. How do you see mindset playing into that? Right? Because it's not just the person that's hustling the most out there. At a certain point, they look desperate and needy, right? So how does that play into discoverability?
Or that's what I meant earlier by like, we have a choice, we have a decision, we have a say in how and where and when we are discovered now versus 20 years ago. We pick and choose where our presence is. We have the right, we even get to Photoshop our photos if we actually don't really truly love the true reality, and we're projecting a fantastical version out there. We have a lot of say. And by the way, I'd like to, since I said actually talking about a Photoshop and mindset, how I phrase it, by the way, if the goal is to evoke an emotion, then I am all for it. But if it's to protect my ego, I want to say this, the mindset, something happened to me cataclysmically that happened on one single day that allowed me to change my mindset. I was lucky. I want to say this. I don't know if this is true. And Lydia, maybe back me up or tell me if I'm wrong on this. I think everyone right now watching this, listening to this, will have two decisions, one decision, two choices to make regarding mindset change. Whether you want to wait for something external to happen that forces you to create it, that puts you in an uncomfortable situation that you don't have to be at rock bottom. You don't have to be under it to get over it. You don't have to experience 0 to 60 to 0 to be forced to change your mind for the outcomes to change. I was lucky. I was open to an experience, and I trust someone said you can change your mind. By the way, I'm saying I was lucky. I was mad. They told me I can change my mind. They said, if you want to be a casting director, just speak in the future. I went home that day. I went back to school, livid that how dare someone tell me all I have to do is lie about myself to be in the, I don't want to be the future lying version of myself. And do you know what I did that night? I went on something called backstage.com, a Backstage magazine then, and I took out an ad. I took action. I didn't realize what I was doing, but I took action. I was open to an internal suggestion that my mindset could be changed, and I took action. By the way, I said, hey, I want to be a casting director. If you'd like to be an actor, send me your headshots. One Campus Road, Wagner College, student box. Like I wasn't trying to hide who I was. No. Fully. And I got 500 to 700 submissions that week. I said earlier, I turned to Excel and Access. I knew technology could help me organize this information. And it was that spreadsheet that helped me get my job at Fox News with Hannity and Combs, and then MTV News for Choose or Lose, and MTV and Bravo and A&E and everything out there, all with the headset. So, I think not to bring up church, but also in church we learn, like, if he calls you, you're going to have to walk west or east or up a mountain. Like there is no destination when someone gives you, when someone chimes in. So for me, I felt called to trust the process, choose who I surrounded myself with, and then give in. And really that's been my mindset ever since October 1998. And I really haven't looked back since.
Yeah, that's one thing I talk about in my morning motivation podcast. Is the idea of a lot of people are like, who am I to become a casting director? And I flip that around and I'm like, well, if God decided you should be a casting director, who are you to be like, I know you think I should be a casting director, but I know better. Yeah, I know you're an all-powerful, all-knowing deity, but I'm a college student and I know what I'm supposed to be. Like when you say it that way, it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, right. I went out and started connecting real people, and then, as God does, created Facebook and MySpace. It's like, Vin, I'm gonna take it from here.
Yeah,
I got it. Thanks, guy.
Yep. But yeah, everyone has been given a gift that no one else was given, and if you take your gift and you're like, no, I'm not good enough. No, I'm not good enough to do this. Well, no one else has it. So if you go and work at Walmart because you don't think you're good enough to do the thing you're meant to do, it's not like someone else is doing it for you. It's just not getting done. That gift is not getting out to the world, and you're standing there folding T-shirts or whatever instead of doing the thing you're meant for. And that's something I really, that's talking about TikTok and how I'm off my business message. Like that's my TikTok message is stop working crappy jobs and do the things that you are meant to do and use networking to find those things. And because I do try to stay somewhat on brand, but
I like that.
But I'm just so passionate about that because I watched so many of my friends. I mean, I went from broke, struggling for many, many years to finding my place in my business. And then I go on Facebook and my friends are like, my life sucks. I can't make any money. I hate my job. Everything's awful. The economy needs to be burned down. It's terrible. And I was like, how do I bring you with me? Like I've been up the path, up the mountain. I know where the path is now. Just come up the mountain. They're like, no, there's no path. I'm standing there on the mountain, be like, I'm up here. No, there's no path. I'm standing on the mountain. No, nobody can climb the mountain. Can't be climbed.
If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My friend Dan Mangana says your subconscious always wins. So, if you got these subconscious beliefs, they're always going to win.
There we go. Mindset.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, can I say one last thought and then I shut up about mindset? Like I'm super passionate about that.
Share with mindset, please.
Please.
For everyone, hearing that, it goes beyond mindset. It goes beyond that. It's really all this stuff, the subconscious beliefs, the trauma, all of that stuff is actually stored in our body. So, what's the book called? I have forgotten it. Whatever. The Body Keeps the Score. That's the book. Very, very interesting for everyone to read. Lots of stuff in there, lots of, scientific stuff. So we actually have to go deeper than just working with our thoughts in case we see it's not working. And it really is stored in our emotional body, in our physical body. And we have to get it out from there to actually really let go of the triggers. So for anyone who says oh, mindset, cool, want to go a step further, then go a little bit more into somatic exercises, somatic movement, all of that stuff. It's then the next level, basically.
Fantastic. Well, mindset can do many things, but it cannot make an hour longer. And we are coming to the end of our hour. So this has been awesome. This is why I run this show, because I get to have conversations like this every week, except for the next 2 weeks. So this show will totally take me through 2 weeks. I'm actually going to be going out to JVX, which is the Joint Venture Insider Circle Live JV experience in Irvine, California. So that's going to be an awesome event. Tickets are still available. Alas, I don't have a link handy, but people can comment or reach out to me if you're interested in learning more. But let's do our final going around. So this is where you share your final thoughts. And if you have a thing that people should download from your website or whatever, now is the time to mention that. So Lydia, we'll start with you with the final thoughts.
Okay, I think I have talked enough today. I already said go and work more with your body, go into that. And you can check out my website or just connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, connect with me, ask me questions. That's it from my side.
Very good. And next up is Vinnie.
Yo, all right. So your creative mental health is so important to me. It's literally the backbone and will always be part of the alchemy of everything that you create. If you find yourself being frustrated, not getting the results you want, I want you to stop, drop, and go. Like stop and acknowledge the patterns. Look at the audience patterns, you're creating patterns, you're publishing patterns, the way you approach creating. Look at all of the way that all the tools and strategies that you're bringing into that and be mindful of it. And then I want you to stop them and create new ones and go create inspired action. Michael, I'll be remiss if I didn't give you my 2 cents on your TikTok fame right now. Pivot the process.
Give me your 2 cents.
Pivot the process, not the product. Like believe in what you do, but realize that this is a new group of people who are most likely going to use your tool or what you do in a very different way. So you may not need to change the product. You just need to figure out where it fits in their process. And I can talk a little bit, more about that. And then I think I want to leave with like podcasting is like the best thing ever. Like I come from the reality, real people world. And then there were the experts and then the influencers. Currently we're in creator mode. So everyone loves creators. If you look at the most famous books or movies ever, there were editors. So I think editor, King James. I mean, what other name in the Bible do you know other than that one? The editors are about to have their shine. Curators are about to have their shine, or refinement for content. So these are all ways that we can lean into our niches, and we can be in multiple niches without having to feel spread so thin, where we just get to be ourselves. That's the part that makes it not exhausting. At some sense, Richard Branson checks his email once a day, every day, every single day. That's the best part about that story, is that if he doesn't do it one day, then next day, hopefully he's able to get back on track. And if we all look at that process and follow a process, I think you'd find a lot more success. And I'm here to help anyone who wants to collaborate. Please reach out and say hi on LinkedIn or my website right here, vpe.tv. Thanks.
Fantastic. And finally, Tom.
Michael, thanks for curating this. And the 3 topics all melded so well at the beginning. I'm like, where's this going here? My point of you're one conversation away, this last hour proved that, right? I've got a page of notes here. What's ordinary to you is amazing to me. And I think that conversation of having the right mindset, having the curiosity to go out there and have those conversations, to have a point to them so that something comes out of it. So it's not just entertainment, that there's action that comes out of it. And one final thought here is, I think this last hour proves this too. There's a lot of problems in the world today, right? And if you focus on those, you're right. There are a lot of problems, but there's no better time to be alive, right? With the tools we have, with the connections we have, with the people and the conversations we have. Thank you for putting this together, Lydia. Thank you for being here. Vinnie, thank you. And if you want to contact me, either interview valet, I'll make this like the GIF that you talked about, or you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Tom Schwab in all of Kalamazoo.
Fantastic. And about that GIF thing, one of my clients is Penelope Jane Smith, who's a fantastic financial educator, influencer. And if you search Penelope Jane Smith on Tenor, there is a page of GIFs of her saying things like, yeah, and congratulations, and high five. And she's so high energy, like she's one of my go-to. If I need to give someone a high five, I'll go get, it's a friend of mine and a client of mine and a GIF. So how great is that? So
And
that's
you want to know a secret is that anyone can do it. And it doesn't cost a single penny. That's why I want to make sure y'all know it.
Haven't gotten around to it, but yeah, I need to have someone actually like hold the camera while I do the things.
Here we go. Good old StreamYard. Thank you, Ducky.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for being on the show. And once again, I'll give my little plug here for my Inner Circle, which is a great program for those LinkedIn folks. Because it's low cost enough for them. So good point. I do have the program in place. This is a $97 a month program for people who are at the place where like, I need some guidance. I don't know what. I don't need $1,000 mastermind yet. I wouldn't even know what I do with one. I don't even know what I'm doing next because I've been there. I've been there fairly recently. I've gotten to here and I pull back the curtain, share anything that people want to know, except for what's confidential. But anything about my business processes, whatever, I'm happy to share it. Most of it, if you copy it, I'm better off. So I love sharing that in the Inner Circle. If someone else were to spin off a show like this with 4 guests, and I mean, don't call it the Power Lunch Live Show. That would be tacky. That's my name. But, do something like it. That's cool. It's a great way to bring more people together. Everybody wins. So thank you all for being on the show. Stick around for a second after I hit the red button. Those of you who are at home, thanks for watching. And be sure to share this with your friends.
Thanks, everybody.